Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about the incredible link between the incredible link that I see between Dungeons and Dragons and Air Jordan. Right? So I just finished the movie Air, and it is a roadmap to how we achieve everything I've ever talked about for Dungeons and Dragons. The sneakerhead culture is already there. They're already fully bought in that a single man, a single product can change the world, right? Sonny Vaccaro brought Air Jordan to market, and he broke key rules to do it, and he believed in Michael Jordan in a way that no one else believed. He really believed that Michael Jordan was not just a good basketball player, not a great basketball player, but that he was the greatest athlete who has ever lived or ever would live. And beyond that, he was willing to bet the entire future of Nike on that reality. And he was right. He was right. And he was a conqueror. He was a cultural conqueror. Excuse me. Dungeons and Dragons is the same. Gary Gygax positioned us to be cultural conquerors with Dungeons and Dragons in exactly the same way that Air Jordan has changed the world. But Dungeons & Dragons has not yet changed the world. It has not even remotely manifested its full potential, right? And the reason why is the D&D community still think it's a game. They still think Dungeons & Dragons is about having fun, cutting goblins in half. They don't think the vast majority, and just look at my comments, you'll see it right and left. You want to see a collection of fools? Look at my comments for people who say Gary Gygax made a game, right? That's a fool right there, right? You'd have to be a fool, in my humble opinion, to think that Dungeons & Dragons was a game on day one or a game day now. There's just so many things that happen around it that have nothing to do with with gaming, right? Like it's no win lose, no end. There's a million clues, and also like just an absolute cultural nuclear exchange in January 2023 over one single legal document changing. Like the stuff you see happening over Dungeons and Dragons does not happen on games. It just doesn't. It doesn't, right? Like these, and so basically, what is the link between? So I see this powerful link between Air Jordan. Air Jordan is now what we want Dungeons and Dragons to be 10 years from now, and can be if the Dungeons & Dragons community says, no more shame, no more excuses. Dungeons & Dragons is my life, and Dungeons & Dragons is a tool. It's not a game, it's a tool I use to cut my own deficiencies in half. And I use it as a formal experimentation to run my secular life. That's bold, right? And right now, I'll tell you right now, like, the sneakerhead community are already in on this. Like, they're like, oh yeah, huge amounts of my life are dedicated to standing in line, making thousands of dollars to buy another shoe to put on because that shoe is my identity. They're already there, right? And no shame, no excuses, right? And they do not care what the rest of the world thinks. They're like, this ain't a shoe. This is me. This is me, right? And that's where I want us to go. I want Dungeons & Dragons. I want people to go like, Dungeons & Dragons is not a game. It's me. I am Dungeons & Dragons. Dungeons & Dragons is me. It's a part of my identity. It's a part of my personal narrative. And I'm speaking a different language than you will ever understand with it. All right? That's where I want us to go. So what is the link, right? So I think they're powerfully linked. They're linked at the level of cultural conqueror. Let me prove it to you, okay? I'm going to give you some evidence. You can decide if it's true or not. Right now, it's just my humble opinion. You decide whether it's true or not. Right? Do I give you enough evidence? Let's go. All right. There's a scene in Air where Sonny Vaccaro looks at this unbelievably beautiful shoe that's been created for the meeting with Michael Jordan's mom and dad, right? And they make the Air Jordan 1, and you've seen it. Everybody's seen it. It's world famous. Like the image of the shoe is like world famous. I could say Air Jordan 1. And like literally hundreds of millions of people could tell you without seeing a picture exactly what it looks like, right? And I could do that. It's an image burned in my mind. So they show it in the show, right? And Sonny Vaccaro is like, it's black, it's red and black. It's red and black, but I don't like that white. Get that white out of there. Give me more red. Give me more red. Give me more red. Red and black. All right? So I go away from the movie, and the movie's just bouncing around in my head, and I'm like, man, darn those sneaker culture people. They got what I want. They're there already, right? They have fully attached this shoe to their identity, and they don't make any excuses for it. They're not ashamed of it. They know the power of it. And I am desperately trying to drag even one more Dungeons & Dragons to Dungeons & Dragons person from the community who says, this is it. D&D is me. I am Dungeons & Dragons. This is my identity, right? Like, and I will say it, like, D&D is me, right? Like, I am Dungeons & Dragons. Dungeons & Dragons is me, right? But nobody else is saying it with me, right? Nobody else believes what I believe about Gary Gygax, right? Nobody else is there, right? So this idea, this movie's just bouncing around in my head, and I'm like, red and black, red and black, red and black, red and black, red and black. And I just walk through my living room, and my left eye catches red and black. And I stop in the middle of my living room, and I look to the left, and there are 40 books there. 40 books. And their spines are staring at me. And you know what they are? They're red and black. The spines of D&D now, Gary Gygax's greatest legacy, are red and black. Red and black. Red and black. Why? Blood and void. Blood and void. Blood and void. For Dungeons & Dragons, the blood and void is abstract and the tiniest bit literal, right? Like, it's abstract and then IRL, right? Where is the abstract blood of Dungeons & Dragons? Gary Gygax grew up before he was 7 years old, right? Gary saw the nuclear destruction of 2 cities. I think it's what triggered him to create Dungeons & Dragons, right? Was the nuclear destruction of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It happened when he was 7. He was born. The first 7 years of his life, he witnessed literally the world on fire, right? His mom and dad talked to him and said, hundreds of thousands of Americans are dying, right? And when he was 7, he realized, when I was 7, somebody told me that Elvis died, right? When Gary was 7, he learned that 2 cities disappeared. Blood, abstract. And he looked into the void, right? He looked into the void. There was sorrow in his soul. Dungeons & Dragons was born from poignancy. Not fun. It was born from poignancy. Before he would deliver Dungeons & Dragons in 1974, he had already seen a world war, the Korean War, and Vietnam, right? His life was bathed in blood. And that's what Dungeons & Dragons was born out of. Because Gary Gygax had looked into the void, into the darkness, and said, I have to make this better. I have to give the people who refuse to look upon the face of God a path to do something not evil. And that's, in my humble opinion, how Dungeons & Dragons was born. Sonny Vaccaro, the reason the Air Jordan is red and black is he knew the cost. He knew the cost of what the Air Jordan would be. Blood would be shed for it, right? On the field and off the field. Right? You see what I'm saying? He knew when a single athlete could make tens or hundreds of millions or even $1 billion, they would leave blood on the field. Not abstractly, literally. Literally. Right? There are, and on every NBA, on every pro team we have today, every single major American sport, all of who wear Nike, right? There is literal medical help on the sidelines of every single game. Blood, right? Where was the void for Sonny Vaccaro? Sonny Vaccaro, the film, Air, explained that Sonny Vaccaro was there was a period of his life where he was a degenerate gambler. He would earn and burn. He would burn his money at a casino. Every single possibility he could. He lost everything for it, right? Phil King came back, the CEO of Nike came back and said, "You are an absolute tear-down mess as a human, but you also know basketball like nobody I know, and you have courage, and you have vision." But how did he get it? Void. He stared into the void, and he was so distraught at the blackness he saw, he went and destroyed himself economically because of the void. Blood and void, they are both red and black because the creators are cultural conquerors who know the cost of victory. Blood and void. Right? It was incredible. It was incredible. And that is why the Air Jordan 1 is red and black. And that is why when you put Gary's actual legacy on your shelves today, which is Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition PHB to now, you will just see red and black. The true cost, blood and void. The colors of the cultural conqueror, Sonny Vaccaro, Gary Gygax, red and black.